So the next presentation comes from Nicolas Musizi from Uganda, and he's got a strong background in monitoring and evaluation and project planning management. He's a food systems enthusiast, and for close to a decade has committed his work to promoting infant and young child feeding and maternal and child health and nutrition. He is a nutritionist. He's the co-founder and executive director of NutriWorth, where he works to build healthy food and nutrition systems. He actually started working with millets in 2016, using it in a home-cooked composite porridge formula to address acute malnutrition in eastern Uganda. They launched further some research on how to use millets to address the nutrition requirements of children and mothers within the 1,000-day window of opportunity. So we will hear from Nicolas next. Thank you, Nicolas, for being with us. Quite special to have you on. I hope I can meet you in the future. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Nana. Thank you very much, Nana. It's actually morning and night in Uganda. It's 2:33 a.m. So allow me just say hi to all of you. Thank you very much for the introduction, Nana. My name is Nicholas. I'm from Uganda, and I represent NutriWorth International. I happen to be its team leader. Yeah, Shan, you help me share my slide.
One moment. I'm going to, I tried to put it in share mode and it kind of took over my whole screen. sorry, Nicholas, it was one little snafu after another. So, okay, you are seeing the screen now, I hope, and we're going to start here, and you just guide me through, Nicholas, when you want me to advance. So
okay, so yeah, as I said, I'm from NutriWorth. We can go to the next screen, Shan. Yeah, so in NutriWorth, just to give us an overview, then I will be specific to our work with millets. We have a vision of ending hunger in all its forms, and our mission is building healthy food and nutrition systems. Now, that comes in quite a number of ways, but our work has been segmented into 3 specific departments. That's community engagements, then the agribusiness and innovation hub, then research. Yeah, so the community engagements are so much into, like Nana was saying, improving breastfeeding, improving infant and young child feeding, maternal health. Then of recent, we got into supporting homes and communities to build resilient farming systems, helping them set up backyard gardens, and then how they can, out of those backyard gardens, develop more sustainable income sources, because you realize some of them can grow the food in the backyard gardens and remain with some that they can sell to their communities. So that's much into the community engagements. And agribusiness and innovation hub, we look forward to promoting agribusiness, because if we are talking about healthy food and nutrition systems, agribusiness and innovation are so integral. So like at the moment with Millet, we are out into schools, basically universities, and we are talking and supporting young talent to see how they can come up with innovative products out of millets. I'll talk about that more in future. Then our research department has not yet gained as much steam, but I'm sure by the third quarter of the year, we shall be having quite some good activities. We can talk to you sometime there. Yes, Shan, you can get to the next slide. Yes, so allow me delve into our work with millet. I'm going to be quite fast because I think we do not have as much time around. Our work with millet started about 6 years back, using it to fight malnutrition among women and children in eastern Uganda. Now, how the story happens is, you can move to the next slide, Shan. In the management, when we talk about acute malnutrition, Kiruba was telling us about the double burden of malnutrition. Now she showed us the over malnutrition, then under malnutrition, but then under her presentation, there was something like micronutrient deficiency. So we were so much leaned on the side of acute malnutrition, but you realize that so much acute malnutrition will come with micronutrient deficiency, because most of these nutrients, the macronutrients, the calorie, the high energy foods and the protein foods, all the two nutrients are so much relevant when we are talking about the utilization of these other micronutrients. For example, when you talk about in anemia, proteins are so important in the forming of the globulin bit that joins with the heme to form the hemoglobin, you know. So we were so much in the dilemma of acute malnutrition, and with acute malnutrition came the micronutrient deficiency. You realize that if in our statistics about more than half of the population suffers from at least anemia, you know, there is a 50% prevalence of anemia in the country, and it's usually in the pregnant mothers and teenage girls, you know. So these are some of the issues that we are trying to counteract in our engagements with millets and in our engagements as nutritionists during our internship in the eastern part of the country. So what happened was in the management of acute malnutrition, there is a therapeutic feed that is usually given to the clients. And over time, we've come to realize that the supply chain of these therapeutic feeds was not as effective. And over time, people relapsed and even some died because they could not come back for sequential refills of these supplementary feeds. Because why? They were minimal, so they had to come back every other week to pick more therapeutic feeds and go back. But remember, some of these places, the roads are not good. There is no easy way of accessing the hospitals. Some people that are suffering from malnutrition are the poor, so they do not have the money to travel every other week to come and pick the supplementary feeds that they really they had to take. So what happened is that they had to resort to staying in their communities. Their children would relapse, and even some of them die. So here we have a case of kwashiorkor. Kwashiorkor is so much of protein deficiency, and then marasmus is so much of carbohydrate deficiency. Yes, we can go to the next slide, Shan. Yeah, that's an image of the ready-to-use therapeutic feeds that is usually given in hospitals. Like you will see, in case you've been exposed to HIV and all those cases like that, TB, usually they are on medication and there is continuous refill. So what happens even in the management of malnutrition is that when a client comes into the hospital, into the facility, they are usually given these nutrient-dense foods to help them catch up with growth in the early stages of malnutrition, but even throughout the whole process of healing. So that became the problem, that one, the hospital could not have as enough therapeutic feeds to cater for all the numbers. So those mothers had to come every other week and pick their therapeutic feeds, which became a problem. And now that's when we got to find a solution for this problem. Shan, you can go to the next slide. So with my 3 colleagues, we sat down and tried to make an assessment on how we could solve this problem. And the beginning of everything was looking at the common foods grown in the community and see how we could work about them to come up with something that could be more sustainable, you know? So in this search, we we got a number of foods that we could work with, but we concentrated on basically 3 foods: millet, groundnuts, and sesame seeds. In this side of the country, we call it simsim. And it was usually, we will mix it in the ratio of 2 to 1 to 1. Now, in the image you may see, in the presentation, you may see grains, but you could easily identify these things with grains. But they were usually, we buy the grains and then mill them, and then it's the milled grains and nuts that we combine to make the porridge, you know. So this formula followed after a common recipe that was usually used in other parts of the country called echtorero. That's in the local language. We've not yet known a name that could be used to communicate to the international community, so I'll retain the local name. It was called echtorero. So in this formulation of echtorero, it's usually you get a carbohydrate source, nutrient dense food, and combine it with 2 protein sources. Now, one protein source has to be plant-based and the other protein source has to be plant-based. However, you realize that in most of the communities, most of our clients could not afford the animal-based proteins because they are quite expensive, you know. So what we did is, instead of using probably an animal-based protein, we substituted it with, actually that was soya bean. Soya bean, we understand that it has quite a number of amino acids that we could find in any other animal-based protein. However, there are some few amino acids that may not be there. That's why we are thinking the groundnuts fit in best with the soya bean and then with the millet to help cater for even the missing amino acids in the soya bean. So instead of using the animal protein, we got the millets, the groundnut, and the soya bean. That will be changed. It has to be soya bean to come up with our nutrient-based porridge. And with this nutrient-based porridge, we got quite a lot of result. Now, Nana had asked me to take us through the whole process on how we came up to this. We used the food composition tables. I don't know if we've heard about the food composition tables. I'll be like Yoruba. How many of us have heard about your food composition tables? In case you've heard about them, you can just give me a wave or something. Beautiful. So we use the food composition tables. It's quite a process in case I'm to take you through how we use it. But the food composition tables have the different types of foods that are consumed probably in the country, and then the respective nutrition content, you know, per food. Now, the one we used was per 100 grams, you know. So I didn't put this in the presentation because I knew we had quite a lot less time to go through all, but we used the nutrition content composition tables for the start. But over time, as we proceeded with our research, we realized that the nutrition composition tables may not be as sufficient because usually they look at the unprepared millets or groundnuts or whichever food that you choose to use. And the question would be, what would be the nutrition content of the final product after being prepared, you know? So those are some of the things that we are still even digging deeper into up to now. But that's the porridge that we made. It was a mixture of millet, groundnut, and soya bean. Shan, you help me get to the next slide.
Yes, and just to let you know, we have about 3 minutes going forward.
It's okay. Yeah.
See if I can.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
sorry.
when we made this porridge, we had to bring together women groups, because usually the women were so much involved in taking care of these children. So we would bring together groups, train them on how to make these formulas, and then go back in their communities and teach other people. It was more of a trainer of trainers. You come, teach the VHTs, mothers, They go back, teach others, and there the gospel of our formula started to grow across the region. Yes, we can proceed to the next slide. Yes, so after that, over time, we thought our innovation could really cross beyond the region. We could go national and probably international, you know. So in partnership with the National Agricultural Research Organization, uh, we went and started doing the research that we are running up to now to see how we can come up with a formula that can help cater for the nutrition needs of children within their 1,000 days window of opportunity. Now, the 1,000 days window of opportunity is the time from conception to the second birthday of the child, you know. So we are looking at the nutrition requirements of a mother who is pregnant, a mother who is exclusively breastfeeding, up to the time when a child is 2 years. And this is one in the early stages of trying to come up with some of the formulations. The formulation was made of, like we saw, millets, groundnuts, and soya bean. The groundnuts we used to first roast them to give the better flavor. And then in the first experiment, we didn't defat, but we realized that came up with a lot of issues. So in the subsequent pre-tests, we had to defat the G-nuts and the soya before we mixed them. Yeah, so this is how we progressed with trying to scale up our project to make a real ready-to-use therapeutic feed that could be now scaled to even other parts of the country. Yes, next slide, Shan. Yeah, okay. So the video, I think, could not play. But now, with that, after we are still in the process of working with the research and coming up with the different formulas, because we know that one formula cannot work for all the things in the 1,000 days window of opportunity. So what happened is that within that season, when we are running our research, we got nominated to be part of the team that represented the country in research, and we were introduced to even the broader magics of millets. There are things that we didn't know about millets, even when making our formula that we got to know. We thought millets were just rich in iron and probably carbohydrates, but we never knew that millets were even rich in other nutrients and even had broader benefits that we knew. So this introduced us to have a broader vision for millets, putting the International Year of Millet into perspective. Ashan, you can get to the last slide. Yes. So in this strategy or in this mission, we are looking at growing the consumption and popularizing millets at all levels of the value chain. And in this program, we are looking at how we can influence consumers, how we can influence processors, and how we can have this whole effect trickle down to the producers. And one of the things we are looking at the consumer level is growing consumer demand through consumer awareness. At the processor level, we are looking at developing more products. And this is not just us, we are bringing on board a number of other innovative people that can come up with products that can we are not only looking even at just malnutrition. We know millet has power in when it comes to diabetes. It has even other advantages that we may not know. So we are looking at supporting other young people who have ideas that can really be game changers when it comes to food security using millets and sorghum. So when all this comes down, we are thinking it will trickle down to the producers, and at the producer level, we shall see good agricultural practices. We want to see how to improve post-harvest handling, and at the end, increase yield and the acreage of millets and sorghum grown. Yes, to the last slide, Shan. Yes, so this comes to the end of my slide. The thing I would just love to tell us is in the campaign towards ending malnutrition and hunger, it's important to diversify, and diversification does not come only in improving the number of different nutrients that we have on the plate, but even say among the cereals, diversifying the variety of cereals that we have on our plates. You know, so millets have been long forgotten in a number of homes in Uganda and possibly in the native countries that used to grow these grains. And our quest as an organization is, how do we bring back this magical grain to the plates of people in their households? When you're to compare the nutrition benefits of millets vis-a-vis probably wheat and maize, you will realize that millets have unmatched benefits. You know? So how do we bring back these grains to the plates? Thank you very much for the time. In there is millet bread. It's a local delicacy in Uganda. So anytime you get in Uganda, please take time to have a share of it. Thank you very much.